Hi, thanks for joining me again. It is a little bit nippy today, so forgive me if you see me holding a cup of coffee. It's 1 degree outside, I've got the heater on and it's not making a lot of difference, so I suspect it's probably about at least 3 or 4 degrees in here. But what I'm going to do today is actually not construct anything or talk to you about a kit other than a pen kit and how to get it apart. Now the reason that I'm doing this is that there are lots and lots of videos on how to assemble a slimline pen, which is probably one of, if not the most popular type of pen kit out there. But for the life of me, I couldn't find a video anywhere on YouTube that told me how to take one apart. There's lots of videos on taking other types of pen kits apart, but I couldn't find one on taking a slimline pen kit apart. And as we all know, when we put things together, sometimes things don't go quite right, and we need to put right what we've done wrong. I'm now going to make a major confession and tell you that I have the very first pen kit I ever made here without the use of a mandrel. I turned it myself just on some bits on the lathe and put it on. I bought the kit, it's a satin gold, it's absolutely hideous, and I made it terribly. So what I'm going to try and do today is actually show you how to take this apart. Now anyone that's seen my videos before will know that I generally don't advocate going to tool shops buying massive amount of tools. Yes, sometimes we have to because we can't make anything ourselves. But what I'm going to try and do today is show you how to get one of these pen kits apart without having to go and buy expensive tools and dismantling kits, and I've no idea how much they cost, but if you can not spend the money on that and spend it on wood and something like that, then that's all the better in my opinion. What I've done this morning is actually get a scrap block of wood. Now I've drilled a hole in this, and I've drilled a hole 9mm all the way through. As you can see there, this is just a scrap of ash, 9mm all the way through, and I've put a little countersink on the end there. On the other end I've taken a little chunk out of there. I actually chiselled that out, but having chiselled it out, I thought actually it would have been easy just to drill down. Now the reason I've done that is because generally all pen kits are just over 8.5mm in diameter, but when they're turned like this one, quite often the maker, that's you, will have put some kind of little shape in there, so this bit is wider than the actual nib section here. And the idea is, with the little countersink, that the pen, if I can just turn that around to the pen is going to slot in there like that. And what's going to happen is that this part of the pen kit here is going to stop and the nib section is going to pop out. Now the first thing I'm going to do is to actually take this, the two halves of the pen kit apart. We're going to come to that bit a little bit later. But we're going to start off with the front end of the pen kit. I'm going to take the centre band off there as well because we don't need that just at the moment, and I'm going to unscrew the refill section, the nib section, so I'm taking that out as well. That leaves me with the mechanism, the twist mechanism up here and the nib section up here connected by around about a 50mm tube. Forgive me if you've made lots of these, you'll know all the measurements and what they are. What I need to do is to get, first of all, this nib section out of here, because it's extremely difficult unless you've got something with the correct thread in this end to actually pull that out. And it's going to be much more difficult to find a thread to fit in there than it is to find something to pop all the way through and out the other end. So before I started the video this morning, I went on a little hunt around the workshop to see what I could find, and I found 3 things that I think would probably get this nib section out. The first one is a thin screwdriver, and you'll see that that fits down inside there but doesn't pop out this end here, which means that when I knock that through in a minute, this should pop out the end. The next thing is a little tool that came with my jet lathe. It's been next to the lathe for the last 2 years. I don't know what it's called and I've absolutely no idea what it's for. Someone undoubtedly will. It's just been sat there in case I ever need it for anything, and I've never needed it. So, but that also just happens to fit straight down there and not pop out the end. And thirdly, I found this enormously long screwdriver here, which I'm not going to use because it is so flipping long, that also fits down there and into there. So no special tools, you'll have to just go for a little hunt and get something that will fit down the inside of there, and it needs to be, I would say that's the minimum it probably needs to be, and that is, if you'll bear with me, about 10 centimetres long. I've got my block of wood that I mentioned earlier with the 9mm hole. I'm going to set it above the bar here, and that's just simply to stop when the nib section comes out, which I'm hoping it will, just dropping on the floor. So I'll set it just a little bit above that there, and we'll do it upright because we might as well use gravity as well while we're at it. So here I've got the nib section again. I'm going to pop that in the top there. I'm going to pop my screwdriver in there, and I shall have to zoom out a bit. I've got a little rubber mallet, got quite a big rubber mallet here, and I'm literally just going to give it a tap. I don't know whether you heard that, but the screwdriver has come through here, which I can now take out, and down here I'm just going to hold on to it. There we have the nib section, which has come out undamaged. It may have a scratch on the inside, but you're never going to see that. So the next thing we need to do is to now remove the mechanism. Now, in order to get this bit out, what I'm actually going to do now is to use a punch. This is a 5.5mm punch. Now, these aren't special tools. You may have to go and buy one, but they are literally for a set of, I think I've got a set of 8 of them, were a couple of quid, so they're not an expensive tool. Equally, what you could do, if you have an old screwdriver around about 5.5mm in diameter, is get an old screwdriver and just cut the end off to get it flat, because these flat bits are much better for getting these out. If I put something pointed in there, I could bend the mechanism or damage the mechanism, and I don't really want to do that, so flat is better. Now, what's happened on this one, and it doesn't bother me because mine is not very good anyway, is I have got a little bit of damage on the wood here. The countersink here has squashed it a little bit, so you may want to leave that flat. That's entirely up to you, but I'm going to reuse this pen kit, and this is just scrap anyway, so I'm going to put this back on the lathe and actually trim the entire thing off and insert the tube back into a new blank. Now, when I took apart the mechanism earlier, you saw that there's a little bit of damage to the end here. What you can do, if you don't want to squash that, in the countersink here, is just get a little pair of grips, and if you just pop that on the top there, and it's not to, don't grip the mechanism, it's literally just to stop this section coming through, and you can then, again, this is obviously already loose because I've done it once, pop that through there, give it a quick tap. It's better if you've got someone with you to hold something. I've only got one pair of hands today. The next bit is to take this end piece out and the clip out, and that's why on my little block of wood I took out that little chunk there, and the reason I did that is because that is going to sit just in there like that for me to punch the top. Otherwise I'd be fighting against, the clip would be stuck on the hole and it wouldn't be level. You can see there wouldn't be level, I might damage the clip there. So I've done that, so what it's actually gripping is the wood here and not the metal part. So we'll pop that back in the vise, put that back in there, that's in the top, and again just a sharp tap on the top, and you will see that there's the clip, there's my awful tube, and somewhere, hopefully at the bottom of here, is my end cap. There we go, there's my end cap there. So what we've now got from a hole pen is the two tubes with a bit of wood that we started with, our clip, our end section, a twist mechanism, our nib and our centre band. So we're pretty much ready to go back to the lathe, take off the old stuff and redo the pen and reassemble it. So there, I've got all my loose bits of wood on the tubes, so I can take that apart. And why not do it while we're on camera? It's a bit stiff and I can't quite get hold of it, but you can see it moving. I'm going to go and get a punch and get the rest of that off. The other one I think was going to come off quite easily. There we go. And I shall just clean that bit up with a bit of sandpaper, and then we're going to be ready to re-glue that into some new blanks and do a new pen. Okay, so I've got my bits that I disassembled earlier. I wasn't going to do an assembly video, but what the hell, while I'm here I might as well do it. So I've turned, I have to say, exceptionally quickly, because this is very much a shed pen. I'm going to assemble it. So I've got my nib and I'm going to pop that bit in there. I don't use any special presses. I use an old vise with a wooden jaw. There we go. That's that bit in there. I'm now going to put the mechanism into the other end. Up to the marker point. Just going to double check the mechanism to make sure that we've got it. And that looks about right to me. Maybe a fraction further in actually, I think. That's a little bit better there. Well, as you may have heard, I was just, if you heard the bleeping, just interrupted by a delivery, which is not unusual here at all. But we'll just check that again. Yep, that's fine on there. We'll quickly pop the centre band on there as well, and then we'll assemble the heel section. I don't know quite whose kits these are, but they're certainly not the best ones I've ever had. This one. So there we have completely disassembled, returned and reassembled slimline pen kit. It was hideous satin gold. It's now slightly less hideous with, I have to say, extremely quick but a much better bit of wood turned on here. Well, there is the pen again, if you can pick that up. So I spent very little time turning it. I literally did it as fast as I could. because this pen is staying in the shed, but I hope that's been helpful. If we can help further, don't hesitate to get in touch, and we hope of course you'll visit the website, and look forward to seeing you in our next video. Thanks very much for watching. Bye bye now.